Hey, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about managing anxiety. And this is a thing that, people are concerned about because that's the nature of anxiety. And maybe this is you. Maybe you're like, gosh, I am so worried about speaking in front of the group. And some things that you should know. So whenever I took over this class from a woman who I think maybe didn't do the best job, she said, oh, there will be crying. There will be people who run out of the lab and never come back, and there will be vomiting. And I was like, no, that is not going to happen because I did not do any of those things. I also don't do blood, but thankfully there was not blood. Anyhow, and none of those things have ever happened to me. So I think that we're doing something right, and so you're probably going to be just fine. I just want you to be aware. So what does anxiety look like? And so these are the common things that people run into, right? Upset stomach, sweaty hands, shortness of breath. These all sound like things associated with like cardiac arrest. Feeling faint, surge of adrenaline, excessive yawning. I don't understand how that fits together, but it's like a real thing. Dry mouth, shaky hands, trembly legs, increased heart rate, rise in blood pressure, and cracking voice. These are all normal things. Like you're totally going to be okay, right? So, but some anxiety is a good thing. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But what I want to talk about now is like ways to manage this so that you really feel like you are in control, okay? And so we call it the 3 R's of anxiety management: rehearse, refresh, and relax. And so what we find is that most of the time when people are stressed out about their presentation, it's because they didn't prepare. Shocker. And so you've seen this, right? Like maybe this is you. You're like, oh man, I threw together that plan because there was a deadline, and I was like, I'll come back to it later and like flesh it out, better. And never did that. And now here's the day, and I got to give the talk, and I don't really know what I'm going to say. And now I'm really anxious. And so like that's normally what happens. So, not surprisingly, if you can think, far enough ahead of time and plan your speech and have a good written plan, and come back and rehearse it a number of times, like practice, especially practicing in front of like your friends, like get you like a real audience and use your props and your PowerPoint and your handouts and like go through the thing as if you were really doing it. You're gonna come in feeling more prepared and you're gonna be less nervous. Okay. And audiences will always know if you're unprepared, right? They may not judge you because they probably have experienced that themselves, but they'll know, like, because they're going through the same thing. So some things to think about too is that you really should take the time to positively visualize yourself, like picture yourself doing well, right? Because the opposite is like if you spend time picturing everything going terribly, it probably will, or at least it'll feel like it to you because that's what you've sort of set yourself up for. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into this that I won't go into at the moment, but just know that if you picture yourself giving a speech, picture yourself doing well, and it really will help. And so when I say mentally rehearse, the last little point there, I mean, if you can't do it in front of a group, sometimes like I do it on the, like if I'm driving, or maybe you're riding the bus or running on the treadmill or something, you kind of go over your points. And so it just helps you get prepared. Okay. But once you've done that, like once you have, put in the effort to practice and you feel like you're fairly confident in your ability to get the thing out, put it away. And that comes to our next one, like refresh, right? Don't stay up the night before, like trying to put it all together and thinking, oh man, I need to just like keep practicing until it's time to do it. Like it's really good to sleep and like put it away. Okay. And so whenever you once you put it away and it's fine, don't make changes because it's only going to stress you out. It's probably good enough the way it is if you put in the effort. So don't be tweaking it right up until the moment before the talk because it'll just stress you out because that's one more thing to remember. So other tips to help you like do well on the day of, you can arrive early, right, to lecture, to lab. Arrange the room if you have a specific way that you want it. Get your stuff set up and passed out. Like maybe get your PowerPoint loaded, and then you feel like, all right, you're like, I'm here. This is actually straight out of the like Sun Tzu Art of War, right? The first one to the battlefield wins. So you can also exercise, like release tension, and then this is it's just like again a physiological way to make yourself feel better. But also like be in control, like so greet the audience. This is a you may not necessarily do this in lab, but this is a thing that I've found that actually helps me a lot, like whenever I present at conferences and stuff, because whenever I started doing that early on, it was very nerve-wracking. And then each new type of conference was like a new type of nerve-wracking. So like I got used to extension conferences, but then I moved on to research conferences, and for whatever reason, I thought that was more serious. And so what I would do is, once I came in early, got my PowerPoint set up, got my, handout staged, is when people come into the room, I would greet them and I would talk to them individually. And for whatever reason, that made me feel better, right? Because I have met them and they're no longer strangers. I shook their hands and I learned that their name is Dan and that they're here from like Great Plains, Wisconsin or something. And, and then it makes it more of a homey feel, okay? And, you probably know a lot of the people in the class, and we're going to do a good job to get you acquainted. But know that when you go out into the real world and you have to do that, that is a thing that really helps. And then finally, try to control your breathing. It sounds really dumb, but definitely like maybe I should take a couple deep breaths and like actually exhale too. So cool. All right. So, and then finally, relax. It's probably going to be okay, right? So use your plan that you've, meticulously crafted and done. Be okay with using movement and gestures. Like, don't try to be a robot. Don't try to stand in the corner like you're, like a soldier at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier or something. Like, you're totally okay to be a normal person. Don't forget to make eye contact. Don't forget to drink water. Sometimes it's good to carry a water bottle with you in case you dry your mouth. And then the last thing is, like, don't worry, try your best. Like, in this course, in particular, like, I'd purposefully structure the course grading system so that, there's a fair amount of emphasis on the speeches because we want you to take them seriously. But there's also a lot of effort like put into other things, one of which is your cumulative portfolio, because the thing that is more important to me than doing jam up speeches every time is that you leave here with the skills and processes that you need to be able to continue to improve. So like, can you show me that you can create a plan and then execute it and then reflect and then learn from that and do better? Because, everybody comes in at different levels. And if you're like jam up, like that's great, but you still got to continue getting better. Like this isn't like we didn't set the bar and then you met it and then you're done, right? And if you come in and you're struggling because maybe this is the thing that worries you, then we hope that you leave here with those like that ability to continue to get better. So anyhow, this is a safe place to give your speeches is what I'm saying. Okay, what's next? Oh, so the PowerPoint assignment is a thing that like I'll actually just write out and you'll find it. But just like basically, if you go to the PowerPoint assignment on Canvas, just know that you're going to create a fancy PowerPoint using whatever version of Microsoft PowerPoint you have. Pay no attention to it's not page 26 in the course packet because I deleted all that. And then follow the instructions step by step. And then create the thing. If you do it, you're going to know so much about PowerPoint. Now, here's the thing that people do that drives me insane. Like, bear in mind that there are multiple versions of PowerPoint, right? Like, there's the newest one. I think it's PowerPoint 2016. There's PowerPoint for Mac, which looks slightly different than the Microsoft Word one. But then there's also, like, PowerPoint 2013. And some of the computers here on campus are running, like, Windows XP, and they got a really old one. And sometimes people will write me, and they'll say, Adam, this thing in your like instructions doesn't exactly fit to my PowerPoint. Where can I find like the format button? What and I'm like, my God, I can't create 15 different for each different version of PowerPoint. So sometimes if it's not exactly right, you're just gonna have to Google where is the format button in PowerPoint 2016 for Mac, and then so put a little effort in. That's what I'm saying. And then I don't know why, but we have this helpful hint here. And some of you may not know what sans serif versus serif fonts are. And so it's a thing that you need to know. Serif means feet in Latin, I'm pretty sure, or something equivalent to feet. And so a serif font is like Times New Roman. And if you look very carefully at Times New Roman font, it has little feet at the bottom of the letters, right? And what this does is when you print it on the printed page, is it creates, when you read left or right, and there's like that motion blur, it creates a line on the bottom because the feet blur together and it looks like the text is printed on a line, and it helps you follow left to right, okay? That's really cool. Now, on the screen, on our PowerPoint, on the screen, or on web pages and whatnot, usually, or at least it used to be, the screen the resolution wasn't good enough to show those feet and not have them been pixelated. So they created sans serif font. Sans means without, so it's without feet. Get it? Which is what you're looking at right now. So notice how there are no feet. And so it's just cleaner on the electronic screen. So most of your PowerPoints, the body content at least, should be in sans serif font. So we actually do that here, right? Look at us exhibiting ways. So this is all sans serif font. This is a serif font because they got feet, right? And that's totally okay for heading. So sometimes that's just some vocabulary that people struggle with, and I wanted you to understand. So there you have it. That's your more you know tip for the day. Good job. All right. Don't pay any attention to that. All right. Excellent job. Manage that anxiety. Oh, last thing. Okay. This is me just giving you some advice. Sometimes people will tell you, don't be nervous. It's okay to be nervous. Like, you just need to learn how to channel that like properly, and like rehearsing and knowing that, so that nervousness comes off as enthusiasm and like, like a want to do well, as opposed to, fidgeting and like causing you to like have a breakdown. So cool. If you have any questions, talk to your TA. They're, there to be the guide by your side and help you do a good job. So if you have any questions, also you can email me, but probably it's better to talk to your TA. Good job today, everyone.